Here to give her speech, running the race, is Carrie Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcomed guests. A rabbi, a priest, and an atheist walk into a bar. And the bartender says, "What'll it be, fellas?" All three of them reply, "Just water. We have a marathon tomorrow." I was in a marathon once. Okay, big fat lie. I was never in a marathon, but I did run a race. I ran a 3K. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that 3K. It kind of starts with my daughter running up to me and saying, "Hey, Mom, let's do a 3K." I mean, like, does she not know me at all? My motto, which I swiped from Sapna Maheshwariya on Twitter, she tweeted, "Woke up in running clothes. Really admire drunk me and her ambitions." So yeah, no, I was not up for this idea, but I agree hesitantly. And we trained for weeks and we get there. And I have one goal. And that one goal is to finish the race. That's it. Just finish the race. Running the whole time. Not any times of walking. Even if it's a slow run. It could be the turtle run. But I was finishing that race, having run it the whole time. So, like I say, three things happen when I get there. One, there's a lot of people there that look like me. I mean, clearly we're not super skinny. All sorts of shapes and sizes, ages. But let's be honest, I didn't look like a runner. That's the first thing. Two, I started and I'm going and I watch the miles markers go by and we hit 1, we hit 2, we hit 3, and we're still running. Why? Why are we still running? 5K is 3 miles, people. Well, I didn't realize that each K was the marker. There were 5Ks. By 3, I'm ready to die. And I have to keep going for 2 more. Well, that leads me to the third thing. Third thing that I discovered is I didn't understand the rules, which was that it's a 5K, which is 3 miles. Luckily, my daughter ran back on my last K because by the time I got to 4, I was done. And I gave myself props and said I was gonna, I did my best. And she came back and she ran me to the end of the race. And I never walked a single time. And I finished it. So in those 3 Ks or 3 miles and 5Ks, I learned 3 valuable lessons. 1, self-worth is defined by how we see others. 2, we can always come back. And 3, stop fighting the rules we think we know. Now, that doesn't make any sense, probably from the story I told you. Let me show you. We'll back up a little and I'll show you how those rules applied to this 3K. I'll tell you 3 stories, one about Google, one about guilt, and one about my granddaughter. Lesson 1 was self-worth is defined by how we see others. When I was a little girl, Google meant a whole lot more to me than what Google means to everybody. See, I had big eyes, or big glasses, not like these cute little ones. We're talking massive, bongo, made my eyes pop out. Children ran from me, screamed and hid behind their mother's skirts. That's how hideous I looked. I was called Google Eyes. So Google to me was not a fun look for cute dresses site. It was a place of shame and a place where I felt I looked horrid. Now, the problem with that is that I didn't realize that when I look at others and I see the beauty in them, that's the self-worth in me. I let the taunts of a few people totally dictate my self-worth and how I looked at them. That one's better than me. That one's not as good as me, because I was judged by how I looked. So obviously that system must work. So I had to learn that that was not the case. It is how we see others. That gives us the freedom to see ourselves in the same light. Lesson 2, we can always come back. Guilt taught me this lesson. When my mommy passed away, I had lived with her my whole life. I had a baby at 16. We stayed together, and this was our life. And she had a stroke just when my daughter had gone off to college, and she and I were going to go our separate ways, and I was going to go live my own life. And she had the stroke, and I spent the next 4 years taking care of her. Well, towards the end of those years, she kind of lost faith and hope. So she gave up, and we started fighting. And so it turned out that I sent her to live with my brother, and I went to go move to Paris. Whole other story. 8 days. I made it 8 days. But what happened was my mom passed away 18 months later, and I spent the next 6 years of my life thinking that I had killed my mother. I lived in guilt. I developed mania. I didn't think I was going to get through it. And it took a long time for me to realize that the guilt is about perseverance. It's about looking at all the things that you feel guilty about and owning them and finding truth. Number 3, I learned that we have to stop fighting the rules that we know. And this is illustrated by my granddaughter being at a wedding the other day with my son-in-law and my daughter, my new son-in-law, and watching them get married. It made me realize that we can fight the rules of, oh, my daughter's a single daughter, a single mom, she can't make it. But the truth is, love overcomes all these rules. And we have a long run as Toastmasters, and the rules have changed. The rules that as Americans, we have spent 400 years saying that we are one, we are all equal. But the problem is we're not, because some of us still think that it's a 5K instead of a 3 miles. And we run that race and we stop at 3 and we say, well, I did it. And there's still 2 more Ks to go. And we have to finish the race of justice. We have to finish what the good 4 founding fathers meant. We have to finish that race. And as Toastmasters, it's our duty to uphold that, to face every challenge, not at how we look at others, thinking that it's going to affect us, not worrying that their opinion, their race, their religion is going to give them an advantage over us, and then falling to that thought. It's our duty to rise above all that and to face the challenges and to see each other as beautiful, and to never stop trying. And then also to remember that love is all about conquering all. You know, if we stop fighting the rules we think we know and we just follow the rules of love, there is enough for everybody. There's enough justice. There's enough tradition. There's enough peace. I invite you to keep running the race on racial and social equality and justice in our country. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.